Alright guys, I'm kind of running out of stuff to show you on the darts. Redheaded stepchild project. So, what did we do? The owner is just set on having as small a port as we need. And I don't blame him, because that's what's going to work best on this. I am a little upset they actually CC'd bigger than I was thinking they were. I was thinking they were about 170, 179. And my darts are only 183. And they float 276. So, we don't need 276. In fact, we're probably better off probably 260. And then by the time we put all the runners and stuff on, we're 230, 235, something like that. That'll work out really nice for what he's trying to accomplish. Now, you can't just make the head 230 and then make the runners flow 230, because when you bolt it all together, it's going to be a lot less than 230. But I'm pretty sure everybody understands that. So the only thing that's different on these that last time you saw them, let me see if I can change the lighting a little bit. I did some work on the short sides. As far as, that's what I want to see right there. Okay, they're nice and smooth. Now, why does it make a difference, the texture on the short side? Well, you got to remember, these are designed with a very tall short side radius. Now, if I wanted to, I could knock that down quite a bit and gain more top high lift flow. This is not one of those applications you want to do that. It's a high torque application, and we don't have a ton of cubes. We're only 350 cubes. So I want that short side as tall as possible. So literally it had a burr go over it to take the lumps and bumps out, and I polished it. Now the shape of it may be a little bit different than it was stock. And I did that keeping in mind I need it as small as possible. Same thing with the exhaust. The exhaust actually worked out pretty good, but I did get some noise. And, you know, I was thinking of changing the port a little bit, but I don't really want to until we have some good valves. I'll show you the valve we're using right now. Okay, that's the valve we're using. It's old, it's dirty, it's got caked on ash on it from oil. And I'm not going to spend time cleaning it up. As it sits right now with that ugly fat stemmed valve, that exhaust port is banging. Yes, we have noise in the midsection. I'll show you that when we get to the flows. But when it's all said and done, I will probably put a radius on this edge, right? It will not have a back cut. It'll be probably undercut to give us more area for a small port, and it'll work even better. Okay, a little tough to show you guys, but you can see where I did my radius right to the 45. I shrunk my 45. I put a tiny top cut on it because there was a nasty lip there. You can see how thin it was, just enough to take this off here. It's nice and smooth now going in. Okay, the throat is as tight as I could make it, because that's going to make a difference on a street application. The short side has not been changed as far as its arc. Now, I could do the same thing with that as I can do with the intake. I could knock that down a little bit and get more top-end airflow, but it wouldn't be as good in the mid-range. And right now, for a 1.5 valve, it's actually quite good in the mid-range. So we're going to leave it as it sits. You can see I did my radius, and I did a fairly smooth transition. Okay, not textured because the port's too small to really texture. The rest of the port is done with a burr, but it's a very, very fine burr. Let's see if we can get a better picture of that. Okay, you can see how fine that texture is. That's really, at this point in time, about my favorite texture for an exhaust port. Is there any advantage to going to a polished? Not that I found. And whenever I do this, it actually looks better than when I do it with sand rolls. Sand rolls are hit or miss, you know, making it look nice. And you have to remember, if you're selling something, it has to look pretty. Remember, guys, pretty equals fast, right? I know, I still like that joke, though. Okay, guys, the camera's giving me a hard time, but we'll take a look at what we got. So this was the first cut. It was a cleanup. The short side wasn't touched. I totally forgot. So this is what we had. Quite good, actually. We got a big pickup. It was like 230, 231, and it went up 20 CFM with just a cleanup, which is really good. Okay? So the only thing I did is I blended, second cut, blend short side radius, and the texture is smooth. Now, what happens? Well, we get small loss on everything up to 0.35. Now, after 0.35, small gain, good size gain, good size gain, good size gain, good size gain. Now, if you follow the thirdgen.org thread on this, Mike Jones specs out a cam almost 0.6 inches. So we need it to be nice and stable in this area. Okay, that's what we're showing right now. Now, it's not as good on the lower ones, because on this one here, it's got more of a boundary layer. Okay, on the short side here, we shrink that boundary layer with nice smooth texture, but it's able to handle the higher air speeds, and the port is way more stable at the higher lifts. So it's something to think about. Now, if we take a look at our swirls, okay, this is what we had, this is what we have, plus, 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 minus, plus, plus, minus, minus, plus, plus. More pluses than minuses, which is kind of interesting, because you would figure you make the short side easier for air to go around, but yet your swirl increased. You guys need to think about that. Very interesting stuff. Let's take a look at our airspeeds. Okay, so let's see what we got as far as airspeeds. Now, this is what we had. This is what we have, okay? Didn't change the pinch at all. Okay, right now it measures 0.98 wide, 1.8 high. That's 1.7 square inches when you take the corner radius out. So it's only good for 248 CFM according to the 146 rule with flow benches. So, first thing that makes me want to say is, well, that's not possible, right? Well, we went over that before. You guys got to brush up on your Bernoulli, and you'll figure it out. Right? If you shape it like a Venturi, it'll drop the pressure at that point, and you'll actually be able to flow more than 146. Now, to be honest, I don't think I've ever seen that big a discrepancy. That's 12 CFM more than it should flow. But I was able to get a nice radius on that. Now, remember, the point is to keep us relatively tight. Now, the owner's been doing a bunch of calculations. He wants like a 2.08 minimum cross-sectional area. And I told him I'm going to keep these as tight as I can until we know more. We'll know more after we get the better runners and stuff. But as of right now, we're going to keep it tight and see what we can do. And we're flowing 260 at 600 with a tiny, tiny pinch. That's rocking fast. Remember, I only like these around 300. Okay, here 350, 355, 327. It went up considerably. And not that many more CFM. Very interesting, right, guys? How'd we do on the roof? Well, you polish the short side, a lot less air went to the roof. It goes around the short side. How did our swirl go up? That's a good question, really. Take a look at our short side radius. It was fast. Now it's insane. But it's insane, but yet it handles the airspeed better. That's an important thing on a project like this, right? We have to be able to control the velocity, which is not necessarily easy to do when you're trying to stick to a very tight CSA. And I'm not going to say I'm an expert with this. This is, kind of a new thing for me. I've never done quite a project just like this, but I'm up for a challenge. Okay, so what did we do from that point? We should talk about the swirl, right? The swirl has got a good curve, 2695 at 600. That's no problem at all. In fact, it's quite a lot. But we've got solid flows, so I'm not really going to sweat it. Should this bother me that we're a little bit lower in here? A couple CFM here or there doesn't really bother me that much. This is what makes a difference to me, right? These are nice and smooth, because you got to remember, we're only flowing it at 28 inches. A running engine's going to have a lot more depression than that. So if you're breaking up at 500, like on our other one here, all right, we lose it right around 500. She starts going down, right? So if it loses at 500 at 28 inches, what is it going to do at, let's say, 100 inches? Like a running engine, maybe even more than that on a running engine. It may lose it a lot earlier, okay? So you really want to, in all actuality, you want it to keep going up. That's a little tough to do if you're trying to get as much torque as you can in the lower numbers. Now these are quite good, right? In fact, I should have CC'd these, but I bet these are only 180, 181 cc's the way they sit right now, and they are absolutely banging. Compare that to my buddy's super stock stuff. They're knocking on the door. Yeah, they're a couple CFM bigger, but you also have to remember I'm using an old Chevy intake valve. Okay, it's not neck down. All right, it's got a back cut on it, but it's nothing special at all. In fact, it doesn't have much of a margin. Okay, a real valve would make a difference, no doubt. All right, what did we do from that point? We threw the TPIS on, completely stock, hasn't been touched whatsoever. We don't even know if we're going to use it at this point, so I can't do anything with it. I can bolt it on and off and take some flows, and you guys can compare these numbers to the last time we floated. Now, the last time was the unported head. I should find that sheet for you guys. Okay, that's the sheet with the mistake on it. I put the clay on the wrong entrance. So this is what we've got. Let's do some pluses and minuses. Okay, so we got more CFM through the head. You would hope you'd be able to get more through the intake manifold at that point. Well, it certainly looks that way. We got plus plus equals minus plus 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 plus. If you go down towards the end here, we go 224, 235. That's like 20 horsepower's worth, right? That's a big difference. So overall, I'm pretty happy the way the TPIS completely stock looks. Now, does it take a big dump down from what we were running? Yeah, 260, 235. Not great. Not great. In fact, my ported stocker actually did better, right? It got almost the same flow through the intake manifold base as I did through the cylinder head. You really can't complain about that. Okay, if you can also take a look at these swirls versus these swirls, because when you put an intake manifold on it, it's going to change the way the air goes into the port. So it will change your swirls. Let's put pluses and minuses on this, reference to this. Okay, overall, minus, plus, plus, minus, 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 minus. It knocked the swirl back a little bit. Not necessarily a bad thing, because at 600, you're still 2400, which is a little bit more than I'd like. Now, will that change when we put the curved runners on? Probably. And the plenum? Probably. Okay? Now, what I did do, I don't remember if I did it with this base. I think I did. I have it written down somewhere. Let me see if I can find it for you guys. All right, we're not going to worry about that right now. But I did hook it all up with the plenum and my stock runners, because that's all I have is stock runners. And it wasn't bad. It was like 209, which is where I would want it. But it was running 209 at like 400 or 500. But it wouldn't go any higher because the small tubes are saturated at that point. You know what we need to go over? We need to go over our exhaust flows and see how they changed. Okay, because it is such a small exhaust port, the texture on the short side makes a huge difference, okay? So this is our flows after I've changed the texture of the short side. This is what you guys have seen before. It was pretty good before. Remember, it's only a 1.5 valve, and it's an old style valve to begin with, right? At 183.6, put a small pipe on it, 188, put a big pipe on it, you're over 200. Not bad. Now, take a look at what we've got here. Plus, minus, plus, 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 plus. Okay, we've only got one minus, and it was all the way down here. Now, we do have a bunch of P's. P, 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 P. What that's doing is it's telling us we got a pulsation, okay? And she's coming around the short side and then losing it and hitting the roof. But take a look at how big the gains were. I mean, right here, that's not a lot. But we've got 10 CFM there. You've got from 139 to 157. Ouch. 154 to 177. All right, make sure I'm doing this right. 500. Should be right. Okay, yeah. 183.6 to 190. And you put a small pipe on it, you got 198.7. Big pipe, 214 and change. 214 and change with a 1.5 valve. Banging, guys. Absolutely banging. I'm pretty sure I could say those are super stock numbers. Okay? With crappy valves. Okay? Now, you have to remember, usually super stock, the port would be a little bit smaller than this, because this was, what, 67? And they're going to fill the bottom of the port up a little bit, which doesn't really hurt, because the taller the short side is, the better, right? In any case, I'm a few cc's bigger. My flows are right there. So for a street application, it's absolutely banging. All right, guys. I'm sure there's a bunch of different stuff that I wanted to show you that I forgot. We didn't go through the airspeeds on the exhaust. All right. I know. Long video. Sorry, guys. Okay, the exhaust airspeeds are very interesting. Okay, that was our first cut. Airspeeds, which were quite good. These are really good. Now, yeah, they're a little extra high. Okay, this exhaust port, as it sits down, when I put it into DV's program, it's going to tell me it's too fast. But we're not going to do that right now, which means I could make it bigger and get some more flow, but it is still a small valve. So, and it's a street application. So I'm really going to have to think about that. Which way I'm going to go. As of right now, right? Plus, plus, plus. Very even across the top. Minus, plus, plus. Side to side, not bad. This one was actually a little bit closer side to side, but the middle was way lower. I like this one better. Here we went up quite a bit. Lost a little bit here. I think that's a 4, 240. You know what? That may be a 9, 290. It's my fault. I think that's a 290. That looks more like a 9 than a 4. In which case, that would have been a plus. Because this side was quite fast. I remember that. All right. Yeah, I should pay attention to my writing more. But, you know, You're trying to bang it out in a short period of time because the garage is heating up really quickly. Alright guys, over 20 minutes looking at some polished short sides. Crazy, right? Hey listen, if you guys are hanging with me and getting something out of this, I appreciate it. I don't know if I could sit through it. In any case, you guys probably will not see this for a while, and I have to do some more work on the Jag stuff, which DV doesn't want me to show you anything. So I don't know if I'll have any videos for a while. So thanks for hanging out, guys. Have a good night.